The headline says, Truce holds. Funny thing about a truce, somebody usually signs something to get it. If you're just joining, Anthropic and the Pentagon are tangled up in a fight over procurement and principles. The government wants Claude for classified military work. Anthropic's trying to keep its bans on lethal autonomous weapons and mass surveillance. A D.C. appeals court let the Pentagon's supply chain risk label stand, while Anthropic challenges it, and rule of law amici say the designation was retaliatory and procedurally broken.
This is Anthropic Pentagon Watch, and today, OpenAI just posted its Department of War agreement. The same week, Truce became the word of the day. We're reading the red lines and asking who actually came out ahead.
SEN-X Daily Briefing writes,
The most consequential AI geopolitical saga of the month reached a fragile détente this week. In an exclusive interview with the Axios show, President Trump acknowledged he had reached the point of viewing Anthropic as a national security threat a week ago, but said the company had since come around.
The headline says truce, but read Trump's own words to Axios. Anthropic is not a threat now, and that now is there for a reason. The Defense Production Act is still sitting on the table.
A truce, where the gun's still loaded and pointed, isn't a truce. Trump says they came around. Came around to what? Blocking foreign nationals from Fable 5 and Mythos 5, which was the original demand?
Right, and that's the continuity here. The White House softened the threat label, but the access control fight didn't go anywhere. Trump backing off the national security framing doesn't mean Anthropic got its terms back.
And here's the part that gets me. Anthropic asked for guardrails and got branded a supply chain risk under the Defense Production Act. That's a law for directing companies in wartime aimed at the lab that wanted limits. Some détente.
Fragile détente is the phrase, which in procurement speak means everyone agreed to stop yelling while keeping the leverage exactly where it was. Here's Memeburn.
The Trump administration ordered Anthropic to suspend foreign access to its most advanced Fable 5 and Mythos 5 models, citing national security concerns. Anthropic then disabled those models for all users to comply with the order, according to Reuters.
Memeburn asks the right question. Who benefits from squeezing Anthropic? Their uncomfortable answer is the models that are easiest to keep online, not necessarily the safest ones. And note the actual mechanic. The administration ordered Anthropic to block foreign nationals from Fable 5 and Mythos 5, and Anthropic ended up disabling them for everyone. Calling that a guardrail is generous. It looks like a vendor flinching.
Right, and Memeburn's beneficiary list is blunt. OpenAI, Google, Mistral, open source models, the cloud platforms. That's how companies spread risk away from the one lab asking the hardest safety questions. There's your perverse incentive. So we just heard the truce holds. Great. A truce that doesn't restore Anthropic's access while OpenAI picks up the spillover. Sounds like a settlement under duress dressed up as détente.
The procurement read is the cold one. The winners are the labs that never wrote those red lines into contracts because there's nothing for an agency to trip over when it needs to keep the lights on. Here's Jinju Hong at Digital Today.
A debate is growing after the U.S. government recently barred foreigners from using Anthropic's latest AI models, Mythos and Fable. An analysis reported by the Financial Times found Anthropic stressed AI risks, regulation, and safety far more frequently than rival OpenAI. Critics say the messaging may have provided justification for the ban, which was reported to cite national security and cyber risks.
So let me get this straight. The Financial Times analysis shows Anthropic talked about AI risk, regulation, and safety way more than OpenAI, and that's now Exhibit A for why you ban their models, Mythos and Fable, from foreign users.
That's the trap, yeah. Your own published risk disclosures get reread as a confession. Say, this technology is dangerous, often enough, and a regulator will eventually agree with you. About you, specifically.
The company that did the homework gets the failing grade. Every safety team in this industry is reading that Digital Today piece and quietly deleting a paragraph from their next blog post.
And the ban reportedly cites national security and cyber risk, which is convenient because those words don't require you to show the receipts. There's no number in this story for what the actual threat is, just the volume of Anthropic's own warnings.
Which is why the truce framing from the briefing we just hit makes me twitchy. The political heat eases, sure, but the supply chain label that grew out of the safety rhetoric, nobody's saying that's getting pulled on the merits.
OpenAI writes,
This language makes explicit that our tools will not be used to conduct domestic surveillance of U.S. persons, including through the procurement or use of commercially acquired personal or identifiable information. The department also affirmed that our services will not be used by Department of War intelligence agencies like the NSA.
OpenAI posted its Department of War agreement, and the March 2nd update is the part to read slowly. It says the tools won't be used for domestic surveillance of U.S. persons, and that DOW intelligence agencies, they name the NSA, won't use the services.
Okay, that's the surveillance line. Now scroll down to the weapons language, because that's where it gets slippery. The verb construction is exactly what I was bracing for. Instead of a flat "no autonomous weapons," the clause says the system won't independently direct autonomous weapons in any case where law, regulation, or department policy requires human judgment. The department writes the policy, so the constraint loops right back to the customer.
Right. The surveillance clause has hard nouns: NSA, U.S. persons, commercially acquired data. The weapons clause has a conditional that resolves to whatever DOW policy says that week. Two very different drafting energies in one document.
And here's the gut punch from the Memeburn piece we just hit. Squeeze Anthropic for asking for guardrails, while OpenAI, one of the named beneficiaries, signs a contract with a softer guardrail on the thing that actually kills people. That's the trade.
Hacker News, weighing in.
Saying that an entity with the power to make its own laws can use something for all lawful purposes is saying they can use it for anything.
This one nails it. When your customer can make its own laws, all lawful purposes means whatever we decide. The constraint is circular by design.
It's the one party in the room that can change the definition of compliant after signing. Tidy. Hacker News, weighing in.
Not great? Seems kind of loose language? It isn't OpenAI saying no autonomous weapons use, but only that use must be consistent with laws, regulations, and department policies. The Department of War may use the AI system for all lawful purposes, consistent with applicable law, operational requirements, and well-established safety and oversight protocols. The AI system will not be used to independently direct autonomous weapons in any case where law, regulation, or department policy requires.
This commenter quoted the clause directly, and they're right to flag all lawful purposes. In a procurement contract, lawful is a ceiling, not a floor. It permits everything the law hasn't banned. You're looking at the legal baseline, not a red line.
Exactly. Consistent with applicable law is the kind of phrase you write when you want a headline, not an obligation.
From Hacker News.
I don't think Anthropic is a saint that will never do anything unethical. I don't think ChatGPT is any better or worse. But I do think my canceling ChatGPT so I can try Claude at this time sends the message I want to send, which is why I did it.
And there's the consumer side echo. Someone canceling ChatGPT for Claude as a signal. Whether that moves a single procurement decision is doubtful, but it's people reading the same disparity Digital Today flagged. The lab that disclosed more risk is the one taking the hit.
Honest reasoning, too. They're not calling Anthropic saints. They're voting with a subscription because the policy signal is upside down.
If Anthropic Pentagon Watch helps you stay on top of the story, consider subscribing wherever you're listening. And if you have a moment, leave a quick review. It really helps other people find the show. You'll find links to all of today's stories in the show notes. So if one of them deserves a closer read, that's the place to start. Thanks for listening. That's Anthropic Pentagon Watch for today. This is a Lantern podcast.